Hey honey, Wednesday Midgard. My name is Michelle from The Once Another Letter. Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be starting the South Dakota Teen Choice Award nominee vlog. I was at the library walking around and I saw this display and I was like, oh my god, it is the South Dakota Teen Choice Award nominees. And I was looking at the list and it is huge. So there's 12 for each category for the high school nominees and the middle school nominees. The high school nominees are The Agathas by Catherine Glasgow and Liz Lawson, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson, Alone Out Here by Riley Redgate, Blue Lock Volume 1 by Miyuki Kaneshiro, Yusuke Nomura, Don't Look Back, A Memoir of War, Survival, and My Journey from the Sudan to America by Ashut Dang and Keely Hutton, Hollow Fires by Samira Ahmed, I Must Betray You by Rita Sepetys, In the Same Boat by Holly Green, Magical Boy Volume 1 by Tae Kao, The Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin by Kip Wilson, Walking in Two Worlds by Wab Canoe, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. For the middle school nominees, we have Amari and the Knight Brothers, Find Layla by Meg Ellison, Hazard by Francis O'Rourke Dowell, Res Dogs by Joseph Bruchock, Sharks Summer by Ira Marks, Smaller Sister by Maggie Edkins Willis, Snapdragons by Kat Lee, Swim Team by Johnny Christmas, The Light Between Us by Andrew Fukuda, What About Will by Ellen Hopkins, Worser by Jennifer Ziegler, and Worst Case Colin by Rebecca Caprera. I'm going to start with middle school. So this is the beginning of that vlog. I'm hoping that I will finish this by the time voting has happened, but if I don't, I will probably be back at you with me reading the winners. What do I think is going to win? Honestly, last year it was the Magic Fish and Starfish that won in the middle school category. So I'm going to say that it's probably either going to be Swim Team or Smaller Sister that could be a winner. And then as for the book itself, I could totally see it being either Hazard or Amari and the Knight Brothers. For the high school category, that one is a bit harder because it was Firekeeper's Daughter and Spy X Family. So I want to say, in my personal opinion, I would love for Wab Canoe to win this. He is running for Premier in Canada at this moment. That would be great for him. However, I'm gonna say that it will probably be somewhere along the lines of I Must Betray You or Hollow Fires, and either Blue Lock or Magical Boy Volume 1, just because of how a graphic novel or a manga is chosen. Am I going to finish 24 books by April? No, I'm probably not going to. Am I going to try? Yes, I am. It is now April and I have read all 24 of the South Dakota Teen Choice Award nominees, and here are my thoughts. So we're just going to casually go down the list of all of the books that I have read on the list. So the first book that we have is The Agathas by Catherine Glasgow and Liz Lawson. This is a young adult mystery thriller, and this is about a girl who goes missing, her friend who wants to find out the truth, and her tutor, who is also so happens to be her partner in crime, and they try to figure out what happens. And it's this whodunit mystery. It's cozy. It also talks about really serious topics like domestic violence and absent parents. And honestly, I just really like this. I'm not really an Agatha Christie fan or anything like that, but this was kind of sparked my interest in mystery thriller, and so I really enjoyed the way that Alice and Iris really played off of each other. Alice is a privileged rich girl, and Iris has had struggle in her life and trials and tribulations, and the way that they both just are two girls that are searching for some kind of relief, and it was really nice to see them become friends and count on each other and rely on each other, but also the messiness of girlhood that is like the fighting, the adversity that they have that makes them who they are. And I really enjoyed this one. This was probably my first 5-star of the year. I finished it just at the first day of 2024. So I absolutely loved this. All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This one is a memoir nonfiction book, and it talks about masculinity, gender issues, gender dysphoria, sexual encounters as like a teen. It does have some CSA like family trauma in it, but also just is the recounting of his life, and the way that it's told was so good. I listened to this on audiobook, and I highly recommend you to do the same. This also talks about grief, and it kind of came at like a very pinnacle time because I was also going through some stuff, and this was just really helpful, and I loved it so much. Alone Out Here by Riley Redgate is a science fiction, climate fiction book. It is compared to Lord of the Flies in space. I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but there are no gays in space in this book. I expected more out of this book. I was not necessarily looking forward to this at all, but I did listen to it on audiobook. It is really unfortunate because as for something that's supposed to be Lord of the Flies in space, this really just gave nothing. I thought it was going to have like a lot of political intrigue. I thought that since they had introduced members that were from like China and different parts of the UN I thought that it was going to be more than it was, but really it was just like a lot of bickering and fighting and like, oh, teenage drama. But I was expecting more out of it, and I didn't get what I wanted. I also really would have liked a lot more something. There was a lot missing. It was just like there was a beginning, and it kind of hooks you in with what happens because you're imagining this. And then there's the middle when they're in space. And then there's the end when stuff happens, and by the time when it happens, you're like, I was disappointed, to say the least. It also does discuss some foreign policy and climate issues, but that was kind of it. But I feel like if you like science fiction or climate fiction, you should still check this out anyway, because look where we are, you know what I mean? Blue Lock Volume 1. This is a manga, and it takes place in a secluded facility. It talks about the pressures of the soccer championship, whatever, in Japan. I don't know that much about soccer. I don't know that much about different countries and their struggles and or goings on with soccer. It also talks about like the psychological effects of this facility, feel like how they go along. I feel like this was more Lord of the Flies than anything. This is more of like survival, Hunger Games style, like if you get eliminated, you're done. That's it. You are no longer the elite in the soccer community. But there's a lot of pressure. But I will say what I did enjoy was that like the villain is very like, you know, but altogether, I mean, I gave this like a 4-star, I think. It was just, mostly liked it for the art. Don't Look Back by Ashut Dang and Keely Hutton is a memoir. It sets in the South Sudan and the US. It is powerful and thought-provoking, and it really just, she really takes you on this journey, and you see so many things and so much happens. I read this earlier when it came out. I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys is a young adult historical fiction, and this one, honestly, if I had therapy bills, I would be sending them to Ruta Sepetys. The process that it took me to read this book, this one really challenged me as far as what I can read as a person, what I can withstand as a person, and honestly, I don't think that I would have been able to withstand half the shit that these people withstood. This takes place in early 1980s Romania during the tyrannous ruler of Nicolae, whatever the fuck his name is, I can't remember. So this talks about like the tyranny of him, spying, censorship, the threat, just the fear that you feel. Like, you can literally feel it in your body. The main character is like 17 and is talking about having to trade for certain items. In reality, I hated it because of the way that it made me feel. This made me feel like I was suffocating every single day that I was listening to it. I was cold, I was hungry, I was miserable every single time I had to read this book. So much so to the point where I actually ended up skipping some of it and reading like 50 pages to the end. Like, there was somewhere in the middle where I got to it and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. This took my physical tolerance of hard subjects and said, honestly, you really should only be reading this if you're like 17, 18 years old and up. Because if I had to read this as a 13, 14-year-old, I would probably never have any peace. His Pop is literally spewing out what he thinks of the dictator, and like, there are eyes everywhere. You can't do shit. There is the one memory that I have of this book that is this is the most tame memory that I have. The main character and his love interest share a Coke. And at this time, a lot of things that they had seen via America were like off limits. There were films that you could not see. There were anything that involved like free will or free reign, like, you were not allowed to see that. Anything that involved free reign, free will, you were prohibited from seeing any of that stuff. There was a lot of American movies that they were not allowed to watch, not allowed to see. And it was just the fact that there was also, he talks about really wanting a banana. That's all he wanted, was a banana. And he remembers seeing people that had bananas, like seeing American videos of people having bananas on the table and like not eating them or not looking at them. And he's like, how can you have all this food, all of this stuff, and you're not eating it? You're just living with it. What is it like to have that kind of exorbitant wealth? It really makes you think about your life and your life choices. And honestly, this was so much. This was a lot for me. And by the time I got to the end, I was crying, sobbing, inconsolable levels of, oh my God. So really, this takes a strong stomach to read. It really does. I rated it a 4-star because I still think about it and all of the times that I had to read it, and it was just terrifying. Hollow Fires by Samira Ahmed. This is a young adult mystery thriller. This was so good. It is about this girl who finds the body of this boy and wants to investigate what happened to him and how he came to be. And it is told through so many things. It's told through podcasts, police transcripts, newspaper clippings, blog posts, letters, journal entries, and there's also a dual POV between the main character and the deceased. who is like now a ghost, and he talks about all these memories that he had, and he talks about his parents, and she talks about her parents, and I believe they're both Muslim, and there is a lot of Islamophobia, and it also talks about Nietzsche and white supremacy, the things that are very topical to right now with everything going on. And it also talks about like censorship, fascism, toxic masculinity. But this just kind of like blew my mind. I did not clock who killed this boy until kind of like towards the end, right when the main character was kind of starting to figure it out. She is just a bystander, and she's trying to figure out what happened, because it doesn't start off like boom, you found the boy. It is like, oh, he's been missing for so and so long, and he's still missing, and she's trying to like piece all the stuff together while facing Islamophobia at school and censorship at school. And she's like, I'm just gonna do my own thing, I guess. It was a 5-star all across the board for me. In the Same Boat by Holly Green. This is a young adult contemporary, and I really enjoyed reading this. I had never read anything about canoeing before. Canoeing, kayaking, I had those two mixed up, but I am just really not a boat girl. I've never been in a boat, and so to read this, I was like... So this story opens, I think, like a year before that, a year previous, and it is a girl and her father, and they are on this boat competition thing, and she's tired and she gets injured, and they run into some complications. And I believe that this is like 100 and something, like 200 miles or something like that. There's a lot of miles that they have to travel to get to the end. It's like a race, right? And her father has been competing for like 19 years. He's been competing every single year. And this was her turn to compete with her dad. All of this stuff happens, and they withdraw from the race. It is absolutely devastating to her father, because he has a perfect streak. He has either gotten in the top, like he's either won or he's been second place. And so this is something that just kind of like breaks their connection. Really, it was really hard to read, and like it was really hard because you could tell that she was so absolutely devastated by the fact that she and her father, that this happened, because it was like he never saw her the same ever again. And so it is now a year later, and she's like, I want to get back out there, I want to compete again. And everybody's like, nah, maybe you should just like sit this one out, you should just sit this out. And the father is like, I'm not doing it, I'm not competing. She's like, okay, well then me and my brother are gonna compete. And they're like doing all this stuff together, and then last minute he gets into a fight. He ends up not being able to race with their boat, and so she's like, okay, I gotta figure something out. He ditches her. Her brother ditches her to go race with another guy. And so she's like, wow, okay, fuck you too then. And she decides to team up with the boy that she used to be best friends with, and something happened, and they've just never been the same since. And even their families are rivals. Something happened on the boat trip. His father and her father competed together. Something happened, and it just broke. You can tell that the dad is the problem here, right? So she and this boy decide to compete together, and as they're competing together, they're running into some of the same problems that their fathers had with each other, but also it talks about their friendship and what went wrong. And I really enjoyed the way that they traveled, because she wants to prove that she is just as good as her brother, that she can live up to the expectations that her father has set out for himself and for the other kids. Like, it's a really high mountain to climb up, and she is climbing up there, and the son just wants to prove that he can just do it in general. I loved the way that this turned out. It was so good. I rated it a 4-star. Magical Boy Volume 1. This is a young adult fantasy. It's a graphic novel. It is the chosen trope, but trans, and I loved it because it starts out with the main character kind of experimenting with their names, experimenting with binding, experimenting with hair, and their friend is so supportive. And then there's always that one that has to be kind of homophobic. And it also talks about like the family dynamics, and the mom just really is really pushing for the main character to act like a girl and like be a girl, but they're not a girl, they're a boy. It makes you mad. As a parent, I was looking at this and I was just like, oh my god, like, how do you not get it? How are you seeing this and you're not getting it? You don't understand. Once the character starts transforming into a magical boy, at first it's all like frillies and like a girly dress, and he's like, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. And as he is going along the adventure, his outfit starts changing. The Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin. It is a historical fiction by Kip Wilson. So this takes place in 1930s Berlin. This is pre like war. Right now I believe that there is some kind of occupation happening. Nazis are starting to appear, the Nazi party, and you know, people are always like, how is it that Hitler came into power? It was like this. It was like he showed up one day, there's a presidential race, people are like starting to think he's popular, making his way in the world, and that is how it happens. So this is also told in verse. It discusses the job market pre-World War II and how bad it is. It also talks about homophobia, white supremacy, the Nazi party, Nazi occupation, war propaganda, queer spaces in Berlin, music, queer joy, and also queer hardship. Did not love this one. I feel like there were parts of it that were really great. There were parts of it that I just had me hooked, and then there were parts of it where I was like, this could have been fleshed out a little bit better. I did enjoy the inverse part of it, and also if you listen to the audiobook, it does sing. There are singing parts. The thing is that The Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin is not about the main character. There is like a happy ending of sorts. I really wish that I would have gotten to know more of the queer side of 1930s Berlin, and you do get like a sliver of it, but it's mostly just fear about the Nazi occupation. Things are so messed up politically. If you like things that are told in verse, if you enjoy historical fiction, I highly recommend you check this out. Walking in Two Worlds by Wab Canoe. So you remember how I was like, he's gonna be the premier and I'm really excited and I hope he wins. In my personal opinion, I would love for Wab Canoe to win this. I did not enjoy this. This is now written by the premier of Manitoba. There are 2 books in this series, I think. It's called The Floriverse. It discusses women in gaming, missing murdered Indigenous women, family dynamics, friendships, communism, toxic gamer bros, and Indigenous culture, and how it intersects in this game, because she has made this Floriverse like very, very Ojibwe inspired, and how she lives in the world. And there were parts of it where I wasn't sure what was Floriverse and what was the real world. And then there was this dual POV where it also has the point of view of this other character, and you're supposed to believe that they're friends, but also there were parts of it that I feel Wab Canoe doesn't know how to write girls, because there was a lot of pick-me energy of, she would be like, that's not how real gamers do it, she's just acting like a gamer girl, no one would have that real skin, that's trash skin. There was just some parts of it that I was like, and the thing is that the main character doesn't really want to make friends with these girls, and these girls are they're just existing. They're just out in the world, and they're even trying to be nice to her, and eventually she's like, well, I guess they're okay for fake gamer girls. And it's just kind of like, I did not enjoy that part. I did enjoy the part where she was talking about like her brother and her father and her mom. You know, that part I enjoyed. I enjoyed the like indigeneity of her in the Flora verse. What I didn't really enjoy was her like exclusionary. Bugs was just not a girl's girl. Like, if I met Bugs in person, I feel like Bugs would not like me. Like, Bugs would see that I'm playing Skyrim and be like, she's not a real gamer girl because she just plays the same game over and over. Like, it's like that. Like, she's not a real gamer girl because all she does is play Mario Party. You know, it was one of those things. And I was not feeling it. I was really optimistic for this book. I was really excited about it because I had heard about this before and I really wanted to give it a chance because I thought it was going to be more mystery type, while also kind of talking about like game culture, but it just didn't, there was just The last book that we have in this category is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I absolutely loved this book. Okay, so this is a thriller horror and it is a Carrie retelling. It is told in mixed media with podcast episodes, newspapers. It also has multiple POVs of side characters as well as the main character. And oh my god, it also has some diary entries in it. So if you enjoyed the made-for-TV movie Carrie, and like the second one in like 2002, if you liked that one and you like the Sissy Spacek one, you will be happy. I love the way that Tiffany Jackson intersects a Carrie retelling, also talking about racism, segregation, schools operate with black and white students in the South. It also talks about shame, family secrets, correlation between witchcraft, mental illness. It was all intersected. It was all crafted like so beautifully. I will be so excited to read another Tiffany D. Jackson because if you know which one you think I would like, please put that in the comments because I really enjoyed this. I really also enjoyed the podcast, but I really enjoyed this. Also, thank you so much to April for sending it to me in the first place because I didn't have to rent it from the library. I did listen to the audiobook. If you like Carrie or if you like horror in general, I would definitely give this a try. Maybe it won't be as like visceral as you would like, but I highly enjoyed this. On to the middle grade picks. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston is a middle grade fantasy. This takes place in an urban setting and then transforms into a fantastical setting. It also talks about like police interference, the way that they handle black and brown cases, missing persons, racism, family, friendship. This is good if you have these old nostalgic vibes and you don't want to read the old shit, you want to read something new, read this. Read this. Don't read anything else. Just read this. Find Layla by Meg Ellison. This is a middle grade fiction. This one had me up late at night till like 2 o'clock in the morning listening to the audiobook on a school night. And it's short. It's like 180 something pages. So this is about Layla, who is, I think, like 14 or 15 years old, and she has to take care of her brother, and I believe her brother is also autistic, and he's not receiving any treatment for it. I know he's developmentally delayed in some sort, and their mom is a hoarder, but she also has a mental illness, and they don't have any power in their home. They don't have any running water, so she like take showers at her friend's house. She has to take care of her brother, and he's like 6 years old. They have to live in this shitty apartment. They have to live in squalor. So horrible. So she ends up having to do this video project. So she decides, oh, I'm gonna do a video project about my house, because it's about like terrariums, or it's about biology or something like that. And she makes a video about like the growing mold on some of their clothes, and the mold on the walls, and like the what's going on in their fridge, and how you're not allowed to open the fridge, and you're not allowed to do certain things, and nothing's been cleaned, and there's roaches, and there's bugs, and there's all this bad stuff that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And it goes viral. Like, the video gets posted, it goes viral. She decides to run for her life. She ditches her brother, and they end up getting CPS called on them, and it is all about her just like dealing with this. That's why everyone's trying to find her, because nobody knows where she is. They all just want to make sure that she's okay, that she's safe, that they can get her into a safe place. And for her, this is everything coming crumbling down, and it was so good. Hazard by Frances O'Rourke Dowell. This is a middle grade fiction. This one is told in mixed media, assignments, emails, phone calls, letters, transcripts of video calls, and this is about a military family. This is about Hazard, that's literally his name. He is dealing with his father, who has just come home from a very traumatic event that happened while he was on deployment. And it also talks about like the military family and the family dynamic that they have. They have to live with his grandparents and all of these things that are happening, while also wanting to be like, where's my dad? When can I see him? And you're not really sure what's going on until like kind of like in the middle of the book. And once you kind of realize what's going on, you're like, oh my goodness, like this poor boy is just like screaming out for attention. And the reason why he's screaming out for attention, the reason why he's even doing any of this is because he gets in trouble for fighting. He is going down this road of just violence, and they're trying to kind of nip this in the bud and get him to talk about his feelings and how he's feeling. And I just wanted to like pull this boy in for a hug. I just wanted to pull him in for a hug and tell him that it was going to be okay, because it was not okay.
I just don't understand why it matters if I'm here. Katie Walbrook. I know this is difficult, but we just need these facts for the record. What led you to pressing charges? January 21st, 1 month after the assault. Once a bitch, always a bitch. A whole semester into the school year. Doesn't matter.
Res Dogs by Joseph Bruchac. This takes place during the very first parts of the COVID-19 pandemic, the active pandemic, and it takes place on the reserve. It talks about like disease, death, like the sacrifices that family makes to keep you safe and to keep you protected. And it also is told in verse, and Malsum the dog is such a good boy. It takes the little res puppy, the res dog, and they become the best of friends. I loved learning about this because it also talks about like storytelling, the way that the grandpa and grandma like tell their stories and talk about the boarding schools. It talks about culture, storytelling. It also talks about a few things like miscarriage and birth and death, and some of the things that are a little bit, you would think, a normal person would think like this is too big of a topic for an 11, 12, 13-year-old girl to know about. But it's actually, when I was a little girl, I remember learning these things so early. So like this was very on par. I really enjoyed this book.
You know you can talk to me about anything.
So Smaller Sister by Maggie Edkins Willis is a middle grade fiction. This is a graphic novel. It also tackles really big issues like weight gain, body dysmorphia, puberty, eating disorders, family dynamics, sibling relationships, and combating mental illness. So this is about these two sisters, and they're like the best of friends, and then all of a sudden one of them kind of like stops eating as much, stops feeling like themselves, kind of like starts criticizing themselves and like looking in the mirror and like doing all these things. And the sister's like, why are you doing this? Like, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, and like you are okay just the way you are, and like trying to, like, she doesn't understand why her sister is feeling this way. And a couple years go by, the sister has a full-fledged eating disorder and is receiving treatment, has to do all of these things to try to like get back to a normal that is okay for her. As this is happening, she herself is starting to go through puberty. She's starting to realize that like she is the bigger sister, and like she has her own body issues as well. I really enjoyed the way that these sisters were able to kind of, it was cute but also very sad, because you can see the external and the inner struggle of both the main character and her sister. And so it was one of those things. Snapdragon is a middle grade fantasy by Kat Lee. It is a graphic novel. It also talks about like family secrets, LGBTQ issues, and like dynamics during certain periods of time. It also has a lot of magic and friendships, and I loved this. As a chaotic witch myself, I absolutely loved this so much. You think that it's going to be one thing, but then it ends up being another, and you're like, this is so much better. This is so much better. I don't know how to describe this book, but this is about a girl who ends up working for the local witch, and she's like, I don't really know what's happening here, but okay. And one of her friends is also, I believe, non-binary or trans, but they're also experimenting with their own gender stuff going on, and it is just such a like queer joy book. It is so cute. I highly recommend. 5 stars all across. Swim Team by Johnny Christmas. I love this book. It is a middle grade contemporary. It is a graphic novel. It is just black joy incarnate, because it talks about, this is about this main character. She wants to join the swim team. She wants to learn to swim, so she gets swimming lessons and she joins the swim team, and you learn so much about like black people being able to swim, the fear of like the overall like fear of nature, and the misconceptions, the truths, and black athletics at its finest. And there's just so much. I'm trying to give you concise points, but really honestly, the entire time I was reading this, I just remember like having so much fun and like smiling a lot. And you should read it. Just read it, okay? Don't take my word for it. Just read it. This Light Between Us by Andrew Fukuda. This is a middle grade historical fiction. This is a dual POV. This one also is a World War II. This takes place during the Nazi occupation of Germany, but also a little bit of France, and you kind of feel this ominous tone. They are pen pals. The main character thought that he was going to be talking to a boy, and he ends up talking to a girl from France, and they have this little pen pal relationship, and it's gone for like a few years. And as you can feel the ominous tone of Charlie talking about like, oh, this is happening and the Nazi occupation is happening and like the Germans are coming and people have been taken off the streets, people have been hunted for, and it's starting to get a little scary. And then Pearl Harbor happens as well, like just before that. So she's talking about this, and he's like, they took my father away. We had to burn everything Japanese. Like, they had to get rid of everything that was Japanese, anything that had any kind of Japanese insignia on it. Photo albums, just got rid of it in a heartbeat because they were so terrified and so scared. There's also just this xenophobia, and it's so sad and it's so terrifying. And as it goes on, Alex ends up having to go to war. You see the devastation go full circle, and the entire time he's like, I'm here in France and I want to go see Charlie. I need to find Charlie. This book was unfair. I didn't like it. I rated it a 3-star. I was mad at the end. I was mad in the middle. I was like, why couldn't we have just had like a cute little pen pal book? Nope. Historical fiction, we gotta devastate you with all the bad shit that happens during a war. So I've been seeing Rachel from Reads with Rachel talk about Ellen Hopkins lately because of the book banning that's happening, and I just because this is an Ellen Hopkins book. It is called What About Will, and I didn't like this. I did not like this. This is told in verse. It discusses serious topics such as like traumatic brain injuries, trauma, addiction. It has like baseball in it. The main character, he plays baseball, and it also has like the sibling thing going on. And honestly, I feel like nobody was actually there for, like, this is the younger brother having to worry about his older brother and all of the things that his older brother is going through because of this traumatic brain injury. And it was so unfair. It is so unfair. The entire time I'm screaming through the book like, oh my god, I wish the dad would just pay attention to what the fuck is going on. Oh yeah, that's right, the mom, oh, this woman pissed me the fuck off. So she is the mom is a rock star, and she left to go like be a rock star or whatever, and this bitch pisses me off because every time he's calling her and calling her and calling her, and she's like never calling him back because she's like, I'm just on the road, baby, like I gotta do my own thing. And I wanted to I'm taking my earrings off. We're fucking beefing it out in the parking lot. Like, how are you only calling your son like once a week and you don't know what the hell is going on? Like, you know your husband's an incompetent dumbass. Where are you? It's also a little bit misogynistic as well, because he's talking about this girl that he has a crush on, and he's like, well, she's good at kind of good at baseball, I guess, even though her dad is literally a fucking Hall of Famer. I didn't really like the way that he talked about girls in this book. Word Served by Jennifer Ziegler. This is a middle grade fiction. This one pissed me off too, because it also talks about, this is about a young boy who, his mom is his best friend. They learn certain words together. They do like word play. They think it's so fun. Like, they have this routine. She's an English professor. They degrade people who are like not as savvy with words. Like, to them, words are everything. It's so funny when other people like can't use grammar correctly or that don't use grammar correctly. His mom has a stroke. It is devastating to him because now his mom can't talk very well. She can't speak very well. His aunt moves in with them, and she's trying to make this life better for both the mom and for him. And he's like, you think that like you're treating her like a child, and he like doesn't understand that she's had a stroke. Like, she's not going to be the same ever again. She can only be a new version of herself. So their communication is just completely cut off, and so he has to do all this wordplay by himself. He ends up going and trying to find community, and it also talks about like his coping mechanisms and the way that he works, and he just hates his aunt so much. And then also he makes a friend who's a girl, and then he also talks about the girl like a certain way, and I really wish that hadn't been put in there. Like, it is so easy to not be misogynistic in a middle grade novel. Also, literary references. If you are doing SAT prep, you gotta read this, because I felt like I had to, there were some things where I had to look them up, and I was like, I'm sorry, Jennifer, it should not be this fucking hard for me as an adult to read this book. How do you think that middle grade kids are actually reading this? Because I know it's not going well, and if they are reading it and it's going well, like, props to them. You're gonna get like a 28 on your ACT, you know what I mean? I was not smart enough for this book. Shark Summer by Ira Marks. This is a middle grade fiction. This takes place on like an island. They're doing a movie, and the girl is trying to get her mom to get her ice cream business going up, and so they're kind of working on that. But also they're talking about like movies, cinematics, cold cases, like something that happened on the island, and they're trying to like figure out what happened, but also they're like doing stuff for this movie, and it's kind of like a take on Jaws, which is why it's called Shark Summer. And so there's like movie props, there's like ties to historical events that happen, movie events that happen. So if you are like a movie buff, you'll really enjoy this. Like, this was cute, but also if you like a little bit of mystery, you'll like this as well. So like, it really kind of ties everything in. And also she just like she kind of makes friends with people even when she doesn't want to make friends. I really enjoyed this. Worst Case Colin by Rebecca Caprera. This is a middle grade fiction. This one is told in verse as well. It discusses serious topics like grief, hoarding, friendship, the shame that comes with living with someone who is a hoarder, and it also talks about like coping mechanisms, because the worst case Colin, they call him that because he has a little book of all the things that happen in worst case scenarios, because his mom lost her life in a bridge accident, because it's like his working through his grief. But also his father has straight up gone from, oh, I just collect a few things, like I just tinker around, to full on hoarder house, as in don't throw this away. There's a scene where he tries to throw away some things and his father explodes at him, freaks out. This poor boy like did not have anybody in his corner. Like, where were the adults in this situation? There were none, because he didn't let anybody in his house because he was ashamed of the way that it looked. Hoarding is really just a collection of trauma that you're not able to, it is a physical form of trauma that you're not able to combat or to get through. This made me mad on multiple feats, because it's like, he's just a little boy. Like, he shouldn't have to deal with this. This man made me angry, but I rated it a 4-star. It was just okay. But I was just mostly like, half of the parents in some of these books had me angry for them. So we're going to talk about my personal ratings, and we'll go on, because I did a little spreadsheet on this. My personal rankings, I will show you right here. and I was not sure if I was going to. I honestly didn't think that I was going to read all 24. My brother-in-law really believed into me, so shout out to Harley, because I was like, do you really think I can read 24 books? And he's like, no. And I took that like he knew what he was doing. He was doing the reverse psychology, because I know that he thinks that I would be able to do it, but he was like, no. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it then. And I actually ended up finishing a majority of them within the first 3 months. So I kind of wanted to give my predictions. I know that I didn't really do a whole lot of vlogging in between the books and doing my little journal entries, but I really enjoyed this process. I really enjoyed getting to read all of the books and going to the library and trying to find them. They were on this display. Shout out to that librarian for maintaining the young adult section. That section has grown so much. The display there is amazing. So just based on the Goodreads ranking, I really do think it'll be All Boys Aren't Blue, or it'll be I Must Betray You by Rita Sepetys. But also based on their choices from the last few years, I would not be surprised if Blue Lock Volume 1 was the choice. You also have to think that there are teenagers that are reading these books. There are middle graders that are reading these books. So they're not thinking about what it was rated on Goodreads like we do as adults. They're not thinking about how you rated it on Storygraph. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking, which one did I like and what did I like the best? So I went to the voting spot. So I actually did vote. So in this Google form, you have to write where you are going to high school, where you are located at, and then it will ask you if you read from high school list or if you read from the middle grade list. So when you go to that, it will also ask you which one you read. It will just, you can only choose one. It would not allow me to pick all of the ones. It would only let you vote for one. And so that's like the simple format of it. I don't know how many people are voting. I'm not sure when the voting is going to commence. I believe it is during, let's see, I did look this up. So voting begins October 1st and concludes April 1st. Winning titles are announced during National Library Week each April. Okay, so when is National Library Week? National Library Week is April 7th to April 13th. So I will be back April 7th to give my final conclusion. So I'll see you then. It's Monday and they still have not announced a winner, and it's starting to piss me off. We'll check the website. They haven't posted anything. All right, you and me, let's go. Let's see if the results are going to be posted at some time today. I doubt they are. This has been 6 days of disappointment. Let's see. Let's see if they actually posted results. Oh, wow, look at that. No, they haven't. Okay, we're going to email her because I'm tired of this. I am tired. We're going to call. So they messaged me back and said they should be posting the results shortly. Shortly. Excuse me, when is shortly? The winner for the middle school list is Smaller Sister by Maggie Adkins Willis. The runner-up is This Light Between Us by Andrew Fukuda. The winner for the high school list is Don't Look Back by Ashut Deng and Keely Hutton. The runner-up title is Blue Lock Volume 1 by Muniyuki Kaneshiro. I did say that there was a possibility that Blue Lock was a choice. I also was talking about Smaller Sister at one point, I think. I'm not gonna lie. The beginning part was fun, the middle part was exciting, and the end is, well, apparently our state must be really big on history, because you got The Light Between Us, Don't Look Back, that's a nonfiction, and then you got Blue Lock and Smaller Sister, so, like, it makes sense, but also, okay. That is all for this video. Thank you so much for everyone who came along this ride with me. And when it comes to the next Teen Choice Awards, I think that I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently, just based off of the results. Let me know if you read any of the books on this list before, or how you feel about the results. Patreon and my Kofi is down below. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been here, and I hope that you're all having a great day. I hope that you are taking care of yourself. See you with the next one.
What is going on with me?
Bye.
Yes, I can drive very well.
I'm trying to get a bunch of bitches to kneel.
Jonathan? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Cut the check. Cut the check.
Get that bitch off the monitor.
Where's my husband? Baby spider, baby. Squirrels are scary, man. Who's your kid now, Thor? Best of friends. Best of friends.
Maybe.